Welcome, everyone. This is Marie WAITE, and we are here at the Finest Women in Real Estate studio, and we have a special guest today. Derek Harms is the current president of the the North San Diego Real Estate Investment Association. Welcome, Derek. How are you doing?
Thank you, Marie. I appreciate you having me here. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Good, good. Well, I am excited to ask you questions about the association. But first of all, I wanted to ask you about your background. How did you get into the real estate industry and how you became the president of this association?
Man, very interesting story for actually both how I got into the industry and also how I ended up as president of the NSDREI. I'll start with how I got in the industry. Back in college, I had wanted a trip to Europe as a graduation gift after graduating, and my dad did not want to give it to me, but instead he gave me a piece of land in Arkansas.
Okay.
And I had no idea what the heck to do with a vacant piece of land of Arkansas. I was 21 years old. But he ended up showing me how to clear the land and how to actually clear it, entitle it, and so we sold it to a developer and we made some money, and he really did everything and just kind of let me help. But I learned how the process worked, and then from there that kind of whet my palate a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then I took a little time off. I was still pretty young and I wasn't quite financially stable enough to just dive into real estate full time. I was actually a bartender, and then bartending for a couple years, making some money. And in 2010, I found a duplex in Barstow, which for those listeners that may not know where that is, it's like halfway to Las Vegas, between San Diego and Las Vegas. It's not the nicest part of town, but anyway, I found a duplex for $22,500, and I bought it and ended up fixing it up myself. I would drive out there every morning from Ventura, and which is like a 3-hour drive, and I would drive out there, work on the place myself, drive back at night to bartend, and then I did that for a couple months and got the place cleaned up. I leased it up to tenants and rented it out for about 6 months and learned how to be a landlord. And then from there, ended up selling the property. And here's the funny part, to a regular at my bar that I bartended at. And I sold it for like $55,000 and, made a nice profit in between. And then from there was like, all right, screw bartending. I'm going to get in real estate full time. So
that's a good example there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a really cool story. And then fast forward to the NSDREI. Well, this was, I think, 2015, maybe 2015 or 2016. And I had flipped a house in Poway, which is a suburb of San Diego.
Okay.
And I get a phone call one morning from a gentleman saying, "Hey, I saw your listing. Hit the MLS. It's a beautiful renovation. I'm looking for a house for my family. I don't have a real estate agent. Can you meet me there and show it to me tomorrow?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so when I show up to the property, well, out of the car comes Eric Siragusa, which happened to be the NSDREI's current president at the time. And he ended up not buying that house, but I ended up helping him buy the house across the street.
I see.
And the transaction went really well. It was a very difficult transaction, a divorce. So a lot of moving parts, and we got through that well. And he said, "Hey, I really like the way you handled that. And I know you're a member at the NSDREI, but would you like to potentially help out a little more on the board, et cetera?" And that was, I think, 2016. Yep. And then, last year was inaugurated as president.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, you look really young still, so obviously this is not that far off from your experience. So now that you're currently the president of NSDREI, what are your plans now, and what are the benefits of the organization?
So I think networking in general just has so many benefits, and anytime you can put in the same room a bunch of really well qualified, experienced, savvy, and smart creative minds in the real estate space, magic happens. And, you know, at least for me personally, I know I can look back on a lot of current partnerships, a lot of deals I've done, a lot of companies I've worked with, et cetera, have all stemmed from not just the NSD REI, but real estate networking and meetups in general. So, you know, I think that there's so many benefits about being part of an organization like this in general, but our organization, I believe, has a really well run program and setup. We have really good sponsors. We get top level talent to come speak at our organization, and we have such a huge breadth of connections. And I get a lot of people that come just for the networks within the network. So I get a lot of
Yes.
people who hit me up and say, Derek, hey, I need a painter, or I need a really good creative escrow company. Like, who have you used? And if I don't know someone personally, I know someone will.
Yes.
So there's just so many benefits. And recently we've had to shift to the virtual platform, you know, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We can't have large group gatherings. And our first one was on Tuesday night, and we thought it
Yeah.
went pretty well. And we still felt like we were able to give a lot of value.
Okay. Well, I can totally relate to what you're saying, because I've been a member of NSDREI for, I would say, over at least a year now, right? And it's been great. It's been great experience. I've met so many people in there, very savvy investors, as far as I can tell. And the speakers that you guys have brought in are very valuable in terms of information, especially the guy that does the forecasting of the real estate market. I mean, he provides really good status of what the status of the housing market, and what are the interest rates, and how does it affect the community in terms of how to make that decision. But I think what you're doing is incredible, and what you've done so far in terms of your accomplishment at the young age is such a very inspiring situation for a lot of people out there that are at your same age. I mean, sometimes, you think that at that age that you can't really do those kind of things, but you've pretty much given that example that you were able to do it at a young age.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's a lot of limiting beliefs
Mhm.
in the real estate industry. At least people from the outside looking in and think it's very difficult to get into the industry, when in fact, you know, it's not difficult to get in. It's difficult to be successful fast, and this is not a fast track to success. And that you see a lot of people who want to make a lot of money quickly, and maybe there's a ways to do it every now and then, but for the most part, you know, for those that are listening and watching, you know, if you're younger, or if you just you're a little nervous about getting involved, just start doing what you're doing now, watching educational pieces like this, or going to networking events, surrounding yourself with people that are doing it, because you really can. It may take a little time to get to a high level, but I mean, what good in this world doesn't require a lot of energy, or a lot of effort, or a lot of money, or what have you? So it can truly always be done. And I wanted to backtrack really quick and comment on what you said, because you brought up a
Mhm.
really good point. Was that, you know, one thing I didn't mention earlier that has so much value to almost everyone who comes to our organization is the local market update with, I like to call him famous Jerry Ryan.
Yes.
His attention to detail and all of the local data is really impressive. And for those that come on a monthly basis, just seeing that component of the evening's meetup is worth the price of admission. So thank you for bringing that up. That was a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, I actually value that information. That's why I love being a member of NSDREI. You know, that alone itself is actually very good for people to be a member. And the reason why is because, especially now, we have a very large population of millennials, which is what they call it, right? And I'm not really sure exactly the range of millennials, but I'm thinking just the young generation itself, to think about buying a home or getting a multiple unit, property, what will be the risk for them, and what are the an easier way for them to even start it. And I'm thinking that if they even come to NSDREI just to observe and just to learn from the speakers, meet some people that are, you know, already experienced, I think it's probably a good start more than anything, because they will surround themselves with a lot of good people that will help them, you know, guide them exactly on what they need to do. I mean, you are a great example. I mean, the thing with you is you were already in a family where you experienced that process of entitling a land, which I know it's very, very difficult in here in California, because it takes about 18 to 24 months here in the Inland Empire to even entitle a land. But you went through that in your state where you were. So I'm thinking that for anybody that were not exposed to real estate family, I mean, this is a family. NSDREI is a family because you
Right.
have almost everybody in there, and they even have you that can relate to because of the age, being close to your age. So I think that would be good for anybody at your age to go become a member of NSDREI.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think there's so many benefits to being involved in real estate. Even if I get a lot of people who come for their first time and were brought by a friend, or, were dragged into it, and then they end up being some of our longest term members. And, because it's obviously a real estate investor association, but you can take away so much more than just that. And there's a wide variety of people in the room. So, there's usually something for everyone. And
Okay.
definitely getting younger people involved is a passion of mine. And anytime that anyone asks me in San Diego about how they can get involved into the space, I say, well, come to our organization, come to the other meetups locally, start surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, and magic happens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, okay, let me ask you this question. If someone who is working, you were a bartender at that time, and you were
Mhm.
able to afford a property because of what you did. And if someone is also in the same situation where they have, they're, on a minimum wage, um, just thinking of the possibility of owning a property is probably overwhelming for them, right?
Mhm.
So how do you encourage them to take that leap, to make that step, and really be strong, or be brave about, even looking at a property when they don't have that much money to work with?
So I think what you brought up happens a lot.
Mhm.
And I really think it all starts with your mindset.
Okay.
And it's a limiting belief to think that you can't get involved into a piece of real estate without having any money. And granted, having capital and having access to cash is important, but it's not
Hmm.
always necessary. And even if you just had a little bit of money, I mean, let's say you were in the military, and you can access a VA loan and get into a property with no money down. Or there's FHA components now with only need 3% down. So, you can still find ways to get into properties. And if you find the right deal and you have absolutely $0, the capital will come. If you have a
Okay.
good deal that has significant enough returns on it and it's legit, then the money will be there. I mean, call me. I'll figure out a way to get it financed
There
for you
you go.
and get it structured. And that's one thing I learned early on was it's find good deals first, and the capital will find the deal.
I see.
You'll be able to get someone interested in doing it. Why? Because it's very difficult to actually find a good deal in San Diego or wherever, one that actually makes true sense. And the people that are good at it right now have access to a ton of capital because people want to work with them. So I would say, first off, shift the mindset to, hey, this can be done. I can do this. If I think I can't, then I can't. If I think I can, then I can. And once you get through that mindset, and you're going to go through some ups and downs, you're going to get told no a lot. You have to get through that initial threshold. until you finally something pops for you. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I can do this. This is cool.
Yeah.
And then like you're there, and then you start building on that momentum. So, I would just say 100% start with your mind.
Okay. Now, I do know that in order for them to even qualify for a loan is they have to have a good credit score. What would be the advice on that end?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know too much about repairing credit or whatnot. I know that, like you said, right now, underwriting for financing is about as strict as it's been in history. But with that said, it's still doable. Not having a good credit score, I think it would probably start with some sort of credit repair. I don't know too much about it, so I don't want to give somebody bad
Okay.
advice.
Yes.
But that's if you're going in institutional finance loan, right? If you're going through a Fannie and Freddie backed loan, or you're going to your local bank and getting some sort of institutional financing. But if you find a good real estate investment deal, and you're going to partner with a hard money lender or a private lender, they don't care about your credit. They just care about the deal,
Oh,
because if anything goes sideways, that's their collateral. That's what they're interested in, is the actual piece of real estate, not the fact that you missed 6 direct TV payments last year and got dinged on your credit. You know what I'm saying?
yes, yes. Now, can we talk about syndication? Because I know that you also are, I mean, if I am correct, let me know. If you are also involved in project syndication in terms of doing fix and flip. Are you involved in that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so can you cover that a little bit for me in terms of how you got into it, or what is the process of starting even a syndication?
Sure. So I think it started for me with just borrowing small amounts of money for one particular deal. Whether that was, I think my first loan I ever got was from my dad. Second
Okay.
loan, I believe, was from my aunt Linda and my mother, and et cetera. And I'm not afraid to say that. And,
Yeah.
I think that everybody should look within first for sources of capital. And
Okay.
this goes back to what we were talking about a couple minutes ago, was if you find a good deal, there's going to be capital available even within your own sphere of influence that you may not even know about. And so in these cases, I had found good deals and needed the money. I was able to demonstrate on paper, in writing, as to why the numbers made sense here. And I was, your family may take a little bit more of a leap of faith with you initially than a random stranger, but at the end of the day, after you do a few of those, you now have a track record, and you can leverage that track record to go bigger. Now, when it comes to the syndication, when it comes to single family here in San Diego, single family house flips, I don't do a syndication for those. I still use a combination of private and hard money and personal capital.
Okay.
But I do have apartment building syndication here in San Diego, and that started on the grounds of the single family stuff we were doing. And I actually partnered with a gentleman on the syndication who was doing a similar business to I was with single family. And we
Okay.
essentially kind of combined forces and raised the money for an apartment building here that we bought in San Diego. We closed on it last November, so November
Okay.
2019, and we've actually be finished with the renovations in about 4 weeks. So pretty excited
Okay.
about leasing that building up.
Now, in regards to our situation right now, when everybody is trying to stay home, did it affect any of your projects?
Good question. No, it did and it didn't, I should say. So I had some projects that went live, and well, let me take a step back actually. So right when this all happened and the shelter in place order was issued, I had some crews, some of our construction crews, not show up because they were concerned about the virus. And so that was only about a week that our guys kind of were hit or miss. And then after they decided, well, hey, I still need to make money and construction is an essential business, I didn't have any problem with construction after that point. What I did start to have a problem with was materials. And a lot of our materials are made in China, and a lot of them became a little bit more scarce and or pricey, or things just weren't available. So we had to shift some of our strategies, some of our designs, and the materials we used. But still, we got it done, and it wasn't a massive difference. We had some projects hit the market and be affected by actual showings because buyers could not get inside some of these renovated properties without going through a laundry list of precautions. But even so, we were able to get showings, get offers, and get all of our deals in escrow. And as of right now, everything we had listed is in escrow and has had multiple offers. And we're moving forward, and we're being cautious, but we're still moving forward pretty heavily.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because I was just talking to a real estate broker yesterday, and she said it was so busy for her, where all the properties are getting multiple offers. So I was just curious about the fix and flip, if that was heavily affected by the COVID situation. So, but in looking at the the rest of the year, what do you see happening? I mean, do you think there's going to be a severe increase, or is it just going to be a correctional? What do you think?
So, wow, if I had a crystal ball,
I know that's what everybody wants to know.
yeah, I'd have an extra comma in my bank account. But all you can do is keep your ear to the ground, study the data, study the facts, and pay attention to what's actually happening in the marketplace, and that through your boots on the ground. And so everything that I've been seeing and feeling and studying and forecasting is kind of goes back to the lack of inventory here in San Diego County. There just isn't enough of it, and there's very little new construction being built in San Diego. And where the new construction that is being built is either A, in Southeast County, or B, somewhere else around the county, but at higher price points. So in that affordable price point, and I like to call affordable anywhere in the $400,000 to $700,000 range.
Okay.
Our median price in San Diego is $680 right now. So anywhere in that zone, there's still a line out the door for this stuff, just because they're not making any more of it. And as long as you have your property priced according to the market and it's updated and it shows well, I think there's still going to be a lot of opportunity there, just simply because of the lack of volume that will be available. So I like that little price point. I think the rest of this year is still going to be relatively hot. The one caveat I'm paying attention to is all of the loans that went into forbearance. So there were over 5 million of them in the country. In San Diego's numbers, I don't know exactly, but anytime people don't pay their mortgage payments, and in this case, it's actually okay. The federal government issued a mandate allowing forbearance, but at some point, if the forbearance time runs up and these people still can't make their mortgage payments, then we're going to see a lot of notice of defaults. And if a lot of these properties make it through the system and actually turn into a trustee sale and become trustees deeds, then we're going to see, I think, a little bit of price damage, because anytime you see a bunch of distressed sales hit the market, they start to drag the rest of the comparable sales down around them. So will it be catastrophic? I still don't think so. If you look at the numbers across the country, 5 million homes in forbearance, I think there's over 130 million households. So even if every single home in forbearance went to a trustee sale, I personally don't see how it would be a crazy amount of price damage. But that's above my pay grade. I just operate in what I think makes sense, and I think what makes sense is the median price points, single family detached, without any of the question marks. So I don't want the house right now on the hillside. I don't want the house that backs up to the train tracks. I don't want the house that is across the street from the state penitentiary or whatever. Give me the boring cookie cutter 3 and 4 bedroom houses, 1,500 square feet. Give me that all day.
One thing that I wanted to ask you, because it seems like San Diego has a very low inventory of homes. And I don't understand why. I mean, is it because of just the entitlement process? Why the developers are not really building in San Diego that much for single homes? Is that always been an issue in San Diego?
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's the reason why we have a low inventory is kind of a perfect storm. And it's not just one thing or one event. There's a lot of things happening contributing to this. So, like you said, there's very little new construction. And I forgot the exact percentage, but it's really low compared to the historical average of new homes being built. And San Diego is unique in the fact that it's very difficult to find buildable land here in San Diego County that still makes sense. Like if you just look at an aerial view of the county, and anywhere within 5 miles of the metro area, it's most of it's already been developed. So it's very difficult to find actual good suitable land for this. The places that it's happening right now is in Escondido, it's in Otay Mesa, it's in those areas. So those are on the outskirts of town and very difficult for people to commute in and out. And like you said as well, that the regulations on building is not making it any easier. It's very difficult to get permits through the city, especially when you're entitling dirt and getting it all the way to certificate of occupancy. That's very difficult, time consuming, and very expensive. So the fact that it's cost so much money has been placing a lot of pressure on developers to build higher price point homes because they simply have to. They have to make the numbers make sense and make a profit, or else there's no reason to do the project in the first place. So
Okay.
the construction is one component of this. And excuse me. Another component is demographics. So we're seeing a lot of older demographics age in place, and these people are staying in their homes. They're not selling their larger properties than the properties they've owned for 20, 30 years like they used to. We're seeing a lot of people say, well, I don't know where I'm going to go if I sell my house here in San Diego. I still got to buy something else. I still have to live somewhere. So, and prices have been escalating for, the better part of the last 8 or 9 years here in San Diego. So if you sell a house, you still got to buy another one, or you got to move to a rental or whatever. So we're seeing a lot of that inventory stay bottled up. And so if you look at everything combined, it kind of creates this perfect storm of low inventory.
Yeah, okay. I was just curious why I asked that question, because NSDREI is a group of professionals in the real estate industry. I'm just wondering if there is a way that, the city can consider improving their process in their entitlement. Because I just don't get it where it takes about 5 to 7 years to even approve a development in San Diego. So that's why I was just curious if something can be done, because that's just ridiculous. I mean, knowing that we need more homes in San Diego, but the process is just ridiculously too long. I just don't understand why it can't be efficient, or it can be shortened in terms of process. And I heard that, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that in San Diego, if you want things done, it's like you have to go through this red tape process.
It's very difficult. And I have good friends that are large scale developers here in town, and they face bureaucratic red tape all across the board. And it's not just with the building department and planning department. It's environmental concerns and stormwater and sensitive habitat and historical. And it's just, there's a lot of other forces at play, and when you factor them all in together, it just makes it very difficult. I will say though that at least the state has, and the city really has been trying to loosen up the accessory dwelling unit laws, which have added a little bit more density to the city's urban areas and allowing a little bit more housing and at lower fees and lower costs and hopefully quicker timelines. And I've done multiple ADU projects now, and a couple of them got through the gates really, really slowly, and some got through quickly. So at least they're getting through. But
Okay.
I don't see this loosening up too much for large scale development.
No. Okay. Well, hopefully something
I hope you're
will
right. I mean, it
change.
makes sense.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, seriously. I mean, I just don't understand when there is a shortage. People need homes, and the city should really going after those. Creating those kind of goals and accommodate the situation. That's why I think I like to interview people like you, because I need to hear different perspective and understanding of the situation. But I appreciate your time, Derek. I mean, truly, you are remarkable. The fact that you have accomplished so much at the young age, and I'm sure you're going to inspire so many people out there. The young people that can really make a difference in our community by getting into real estate and understanding how they can really build their assets and their portfolio by stepping into your association. I think the association has so much value that people need to really know that it's there for them. So they just need to understand that it's available. And the fact that you're the president, it's a great example, a great model for everybody that are inspiring to get into real estate. Well, I truly appreciate your time, Derek. Is there anything else that you wanted to share to people before we sign off?
No, I would just say if you're interested in checking us out, you can go to nsdrei.org. And this coming June, actually, we're really excited to have Bruce and Aaron Norris at our 16th anniversary party, we'll call it. It's no longer a party since it's a virtual meeting now.
Okay.
But given what's going on with the economy and the markets, I think having one of the savviest real estate prognosticators and investors in California and live, and being able to ask him questions about what he sees happening is going to be a really important meeting for a lot of people. So I would just say, if you first off, if you don't know who Bruce Norris is, come to our meeting, because he's a generational talent. And secondly, it's going to be a great event.
Okay, great. And so they just need to go to the website to learn more, to connect with you. Is that the best way?
That's the best way. Yeah, you
Okay.
can just go to nsdrei.org, has all the details.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Derek. And for everyone out there watching this video, definitely share this to everybody that you know, because it is a very important information for people. And if you can also subscribe to our YouTube account, that'll be great. And I thank you for watching the video, and thank you, Derek, for everything. All right, have an amazing day.